I don't necessarily get the popularity some other content creators get, but then
Or
again,
maybe that's because you keep getting shut down. I mean, that could be a
but that's
possibility, don't you think?
that is that is one reason. But I think
Mhm.
another reason is I'm not as toxic as they would like me to be. So I
So,
don't say
okay,
that
so how are you getting if you're not as toxic, how are you getting shut down so much?
because I I hit them with hard, indisputable truth. The
Mhm.
type of truth that you don't necessarily need data and statistic for. The type of objective reality truth that we all see.
Mm.
That is that there's so many different examples. I mean, if we all look up at the sky, we can all pretty
Mhm.
much agree that the sky is blue. Now, we can argue about whatever shade of blue it may be, but as long as we're not colorblind and we're all looking at the same sky, at least we can agree upon that one simple truth. And that's kind of the level I take it right back to. I bring it to things that, as hard as they may want to challenge it,
Mhm.
they can't dispute what I say. So
Mm.
that irks some women very deeply, especially the ones who have wrapped themselves around a certain amount of dysfunction,
Yeah.
or those who have told themselves that they are much more powerful people than what they really are. And please make no mistake about it. As you mentioned, I slay dragons. Not all the dragons I slay happen to be women, or in particular black women. A lot of them range across the rainbow spectrum, both
Yes.
both in ethnicity and gender association or orientation, whatever. Or
Mhm.
everybody can get it, you know.
Yeah.
and
It's equal opportunity slaying. I
yeah,
get you.
and that's what gets me shut down most of the time.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. Now, how do you feel about simps?
Simps are the most destructive element in our society,
And how is that?
because those and primarily the men, those are the men who are the con men. They're the charlatans. Those are
Mhm.
the men who are the lowest of the low, because they prey upon the emotional insecurities and vulnerabilities of relatively weak and or broken spirited women. They prey
Mm,
on their insecurities. They
mm,
Those are the men who would take, say, the least attractive woman in the room and tell her that her aesthetic beauty is equal to that of Halle Berry, Michelle Pfeiffer, so on and so forth. They will pump these women's egos up and feed into their delusions, so much so that these women go off into the world believing that nonsense, as opposed to ever truly accepting what their natural beauty truly is and capitalizing on that. And then they come with the attitude. They
right.
come with that. They come with that attitude that is seen as abrasive and relatively unattractive. I mean, it's bad enough to be an unattractive person. It's that
Mhm.
much worse if you're an unattractive person aesthetically and you have an ugly personality too.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that, man. I totally agree with that. I think the same thing about I tell a lot of people when I'm talking about this kind of stuff, I say, look, you gotta understand that eh, simps are ruining a whole lot of our platform. They're ruining the game like tremendously. What up, King? They're telling women that they can get away with the stuff that they're doing, and
Mhm.
it's like women pretty much use these men as, you know, throwaway shields, if you will, right? You
Oh
know,
yes.
they'll go and hide behind a Dr. Umar Johnson or a Derek Jackson, and they'll sit there and say, "Well, this man says it, and this man says it, and
So it
I'm
must be
cool
true.
with that."
It
It's
has to be
got to be
true.
true, but think about this for a second. Why wouldn't they do that? I mean, they're not getting the truth from us. You know what I mean? Like Kevin Samuels, they was freaking. You know, they was happy he was gone. Like, yeah, he's gone. I'm like, are you
Which
kidding
was
me?
that was a grave mistake on their part. That
Yeah,
was a
it
grave
a
mistake.
lot of men, yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
and I'll put it like this: whether they realize it or not, Kevin Samuels, and I want everybody to hear me when I say this. Kevin Samuels was the champion that black women needed that they did not realize they had.
Did not real oh my God, talks build on that, build on it. I'm gonna let you
Okay.
say what you build on it. Why
So
why do you think that Kevin Samuel was the champion for black women?
okay. So for years, his content was actually aimed at men first.
Yes, it was.
He
And a lot of
he was
people misunderstand. They missed that part. It absolutely was.
and his entire content at that time was devoted to teaching and encouraging black men specifically to build themselves up in a number of different ways. Of course, financially was number one. Build up build up their financial portfolio, build up their working knowledge, read more books, read. That was one of his core philosophies, that part of being the type of man that women in general want, whether we talk about modern, traditional, whatever, all women typically are drawn to the same type of man,
Mhm.
or at least certain key elements. So, being able to secure oneself financially, being a learned man, having some wealth of knowledge, because that's what makes a man interesting. That capacity to be able to impart some knowledge or guide, or as lead. When women appreciate a man who has the capacity to lead, well, the best leaders typically are the smartest, most well-rounded men. So he encouraged men to read more. He encouraged men to go to the gym to improve their aesthetic as best they could. So when you put it all together, he preached a doctrine to men to look good, dress well, have some money in the bank, and be able to carry a conversation.
Hmm.
The lion's share of the characteristics that most women say that they want across the ethnic spectrum. And then he made a shift to the women. And his content toward the women at that point was a reality check. He just simply looked at the numbers. There are fewer single and available men in this country than there are single available women. That's for starters. And then
Yeah.
when you put in other qualifiers, if you will, uh, other things that affect that number, such as age, such as financial portfolio, aesthetic look, all those different things, all those change the dynamic of the type of men that women most gravitate to. That's where that term high value male came from. It was it wasn't so much of a made up term, though it was, but it was actually more reflective of women's preferences or their prevailing preferences. So, good example. You take a man like Dwayne the Rock Johnson, for example.
Mhm.
He's wealthy, he's handsome, he's a relatively highly intelligent man. He's a man about town. He has a lot of charisma. There are many more women who would be attracted to a man like that than, say, and I'm not picking on him, and God rest the dead, but the late Biz Marquis.
Hmm.
A lot more women would probably be more attracted to a Dwayne the Rock Johnson than the late Biz Marquis.
Right.
And there's no shame on him. It's just an observable fact. Or or even if we don't use Biz Marquis, just say some average hood brother that's overweight with $500 in the bank.
Yeah.
You know, it's not rocket science to be able to say that a woman would prefer a man like Dwayne the Rock Johnson, or a Lorenz Tate, or uh, Morris Chestnut, or any of those guys that we see in the public limelight that would be considered heartthrobs and wealthy men. It's not hard to figure out that a lot more women will want those men than, say, the average Joe Blow truck driver. It's
Right.
we can accept that. We don't necessarily need statistics to tell us that.
Yeah. It's
But
common sense.
and unfortunately, there's a saying, common sense is not that common. And
Right.
To that effect, I think a lot of ladies do have common sense. It's just that they believe that they can somehow change or warp or adapt their reality into fitting within their will just because they say so.
Yeah.
And that's just not how the world works. We some uh and please bear with me, folks, because I when I say this, by no means am I trying to speak in a harmful kind of way. I'm not trying to offend anybody. But if you were, I'll use myself as an example. Had I not worked out significantly in my early 20s, I would have still been the same fat little kid I was, or I would be the same fat person I was when I was a kid.
Right.
I had to do something to change my physique. I had to lift the weights. I had to do the exercises. I had to do all those calisthenics to ultimately change my physical shape. Had I not done that, I still would have had the same aesthetic appearance and people would have treated me accordingly because, like it or not, people judge. People
Right.
judge every day.
Yes, they do.
And that's an inescapable part of our reality. However, a large segment of our lovely ladies, and to a certain extent, some of our men too, somehow they believe that these judgments are just not supposed to extend to them just because, just just because they say so. They may say, well, I have a trigger, and then just expect everybody else in the room to just shut up and stop talking about what they're talking about simply because they're the ones who lack a certain amount of self-control or self-awareness or the ability to just accept the reality of who and what they are. They will
Now,
impose that on other people.
do you think that has something to do with their nature? Or is that more of a, an ideology that has been circling for so long they actually believe that?
It is most certainly the latter. It's an ideology. It's right up there with that whole participation trophy nonsense.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I
Where
agree.
it was this fight for equity, but it was disguised as inclusive equality. But it
Mm,
was never about equality. It was about actively shifting power to make the weak strong. And that's
mm,
that we saw the same thing with the feminist movement. The feminist movement was masqueraded as an attempt to level the playing field between men and women.
right.
But but then look what it did. It opened the door for women to officially have access to work. Because let's keep it real. Women always did work in this country.
Yes, they did.
They always did. I mean,
Yes, but they didn't get
just
paid a monetary amount to do so, but they definitely worked. They were school teachers, they were the saloons, the all that. Like, to say that they didn't work is foolish, but that's
yeah,
what they will say. We wasn't able to work. No, 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 no. You were working and y'all did get paid for the work that y'all did. It's just that there was certain work that y'all was barred from because it made sense physically. We're talking about way back when there was no damn machines or anything like that. So you
exactly.
couldn't do those.
Look,
And we didn't have any type of modern day, you know, sanitary napkins and stuff like that. So it doesn't make any sense to hire someone that can only work three weeks out of the month. It just don't make sense. So a lot
mhm,
of that stuff is the reason why you was prohibited. It wasn't because you was female, it was because of your biological functions. But to
exactly.
say that today is like, well, no, it's because y'all couldn't stand women and y'all didn't want to. No, it had nothing to do with that. Do you realize that till this day, men work themselves to the bone for who? Women. We don't do it for each other.
hmm And you
We
see,
don't.
the easiest way to tell that all of that nonsense that they keep speaking is a lie.
Yeah.
How do you account for women that were widows during that time? What they
Mm,
so the widow, because she didn't have the right to work, well, she just up and died, huh? I mean,
mm,
she just up and starved to death.
yeah.
Her and all her leftover children from her
Hmm.
marriage, they just all just gave up the ghost, right? Just because she couldn't get a job. No,
Right.
Of course, these women worked. But like I said, that movement, it was built on so many different lies to promote this image that
Mm-hmm.
that all men are oppressive, which is why I always take an issue when our lovely sisters tell us that somehow we're part of the patriarchy that oppressed them. I'm like, how? One of the biggest criticisms that they give us today is that we don't own anything or that we don't have direct control or power over anything. So if we don't have the power, if we don't have the control, if we don't even have the money to use any kind of coercive power, where did we ever oppress you, black woman? How?
it it seems to me that the patriarchy directly affects men more than it ever would ever affect women. This is why I don't understand when they say it. I'm like, I'm a little lost because we were the ones in the coal mines, we was the ones on the railroads, we was the ones going through all that crap. We didn't get an opportunity, we didn't get a chance, we just had to. If we wanted our kids to eat, we had to do it. So it's like,
Yeah.
to say that the patriarchy is against women, I'm like, I'm sorry, but I think you're wrong. I think it's against men. It's not
Oh
against,
yes.
it's for women. It's to protect and preserve women and child, not so much for men, because men are the ones who uphold this quote unquote patriarchy, which it doesn't exist. Let's be honest, it doesn't exist. This is some new thing that they want to talk about. It's just what it is. But I got Wally P that I want to bring up. We're going to discuss a few things. He has an opinion on why Fresh and Fit has been demonetized and what I guess kicked off of YouTube. Let's talk about it. What's up, Wally?
Yeah, what's going on, fellas?
What's
How
up,
you
brother?
doing today, man?
Not too bad, not too bad.
I would like
Salutations
you.
to everybody in the comment section.
I would like you to meet 360 Smooth. Remember the guy that I was telling you that got like
Oh,
banned off of TikTok like 15 times? That's him.
Yeah, yeah.
oh
Okay,
yeah.
what's going
Oh
on,
yeah.
brother?
All right, brother. I remember you. I follow you too. I'll
Oh,
follow you.
okay,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
All
That's
right.
what's up. All right. Creators in the
That's what's up.
house.
As a matter of
Yes,
fact,
sir. Yes,
if I'm
sir.
not mistaken, you're that brother that went head to head with me against another simp. We
Really?
went head to head. You and I both challenged the same guy,
What guy is that?
the one with the bald head, a few shades lighter than me, but 100% simp. You and I both fed into him.
Oh, wow.
That's interesting. It'd
That's
be
what's
nice if
up.
you had the video, but
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
talking about 5 channels removed at this
We
particular point.
yeah,
For
we
real, for
both lit
real.
him up.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Okay. Um, because I know my time is short because I got to be up early in the morning to crack of dawn for work. So, all right, I got some points just to lay down. Number one, I know the conversation was going on about simps, right? And how
Mhm.
they're messing it up. But we got to look at the reality of it. How are these simps created? Simps are
Mhm.
created usually by single mothers.
Yes, sir.
And the reason why I say this too is because us men on the panel, right? When we went through our early stages of taking a liking to a woman, this, that, and the third, we did all these things to try and win the woman over. And 9 times out of 10, a lot of us can say the same thing where it's like, yo, we was trying to be nice to this woman. She turned us down and was like, yo, I like the thugs, this, that, and the third. So you wind up rearranging the way you move because that's what's gonna work. See, a simp that's raised by their mother, they're gonna stick to that code and just go to the next one and see if that tactic of being nice and whatever the case may be. And not to say not to be nice to women, but simping over women is all they know because that's what they were taught
Mm.
Mhm.
from
Yes.
the single mothers. My opinion on it. So that's number one. The second thing that I wanted to talk about was the Fresh and Fit, why they got kicked off of YouTube. Now, there's my opinion on the matter, but they did a lot of things. Number one of the biggest things that they did was they tried to misappropriately use the YouTube guidelines to try and get other channels banned. People
Really?
who were using their content for fair use, they hired like a BS lawyer that sent
Yeah.
mad copyright strikes. You're talking the lead attorney, you're talking Abba and Preach, a lot of big YouTubers. And
Mhm.
once YouTube saw what was going on, they demanded that they apologize because they're like, yo, you're misappropriating the use of our fair use, our fair use policy for copyright strikes, this, that, and the third. Then, with the whole beef with Abba and Preach, whatever, people beef all the time, but when you basically degrade a whole country, which was Preach's homeland, Haiti, which is my homeland also, he was very disrespectful to the country of Haiti. And people don't realize when America was like fighting for freedom for slavery, Haiti set a lot of refuge for Black Americans to get away, and also fought for the freedoms for Black Americans. But that's neither here or there. So you're gonna just totally disrespect a whole nation. That's number two. Number three, I believe on a couple of lives they was wearing like a Klan's hat, being very disrespectful, this, that, and the third, blah, blah, blah. Yes. And then on top of that, say what you want to say, whether you're a fan of Nick Fuentes or not. The bottom line is YouTube kicked him off the platform. YouTube do not want Nick Fuentes on the platform. So they do a live with him. Now, there's a lot of people that got kicked off of YouTube and everything like that, the whole nine, and they been brought on by other YouTubers also, and nothing happened. But they brought this man on, had him saying the N word, this, that, and the third, like a lot of very disrespectful things. Now, when you mount all of these things into like one big bubble, that's a lot of damn strikes. And even though you were making YouTube so much money, it's like, bro, enough is enough. Cause it's like,
Well,
yo, yeah, what was you gonna say?
if you're going after other YouTube creators for using your content, which this is a content,
Yes.
sharing platform,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
As long as you put certain things into your title and your description, you
You
make it sure.
transform it.
Listen, hey guys, this is not my content. I am simply doing what content creators do and giving my own opinion on what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing. That's part of the game. That's fair
Yeah.
use.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. I
Exactly.
may not be able to monetize the video, but I can still have my say on that video. Right. So that kind of stuff is like you're making more of a problem for YouTube than a little bit. Now
Mm-hmm.
we have a lot of Black women very happy about this decision from YouTube. Very, very happy about this decision. And I
Mm.
can't really be mad at them. I'm gonna have my opinion about it, and I'm gonna get your opinion. I'm smooth, and I'm gonna get your opinion matters. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna get your opinion now because of it. I'm gonna let
Yeah.
you finish, but I want to get your opinion on this because even though Fresh and Fit was doing a whole lot of things that was absolutely absurd in the background, the things that they were saying on their podcast, I tend to agree with a lot of it. Even though I don't really care too much for Fresh and Fit, to me personally, I look at them as the simps that we're talking about, just on the other side of the equation, because they believe blindly they need money in order to get women.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the type of person that I don't respect that type of person. Sorry. I don't respect it. Because if you
Mm-hmm.
have to have money to get women, and guess what? Anybody that got bigger bankroll than you can get your woman.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. But go ahead. What's your thoughts about that matters?
See, they're very good at, you know, preaching, so to speak, or
Mm-hmm.
coaching. But as far as taking their own advice, they
Oh
suck at it.
boy. Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like
Oh
that's the
God. Yeah.
best way that I could break it down because they
Mm-hmm.
give phenomenal advice, and I get it. The stuff they teach do help men not get duped by women. It make them, hold their ground more towards these women nowadays. I get that 100%. They do an excellent job. They'll break down statistics and the whole nine. So they do a phenomenal job. But the point that you made, they rely on women. they're on sites, paying for box and this, that, and the third, all of that stuff. It's like, I hear what you're saying, but your actions or your reality is polar opposite of what you're saying.
Very.
So the content is dope. Can't front on the content or whatever. And hey, if the content is gonna help men level up, if it's gonna reform simps, hey, I'm all for it. I
Right.
am all for it. It is what it
Mhm.
is. But just know, even though a lot of women are happy that they're off the platform, it doesn't stop there. I said the same thing when Kevin Samuels passed. I said, yo, this is just going to make it uh more of a public outcry of more channels like this that's gonna
They're going to
speak
pop
to
up even
men.
further because
Exactly.
you're irritated. Like
Exactly.
you like, okay, so and look at what King said. It's not hard to reproduce this content. All you have to do is know how to, wow your audience, dazzle your audience, and just
Hmm.
repeat, rinse and repeat. You see so many women jumping on the freaking bandwagon, rinsing and repeating. That's why I'm very, very lenient to grabbing a woman who is saying all the talking points that I like. I'm like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
that's too spot on.
Might
You know what
might
I'm
be a
saying?
chameleon, huh?
It might be a
Right.
chameleon. So it's
Yeah.
like you want to be very careful. And a lot of people have an issue with Pearl. I don't have an issue with Pearl. All right.
Me either.
Here's a rich kid who became superstar status in a section that most women can't even get in because most men don't trust them. Okay. So in my opinion, I think she did more of a service for the red pill community than anything. Call it whatever you want. I respect Pearl. I respect her hustle. I don't like the things that she did, but at the same time, there's things that's going on in my comment section about conversations that I'm having that has nothing to do with race, has nothing to do with economics, has nothing to do with being a victim. But you have people saying, "Oh, you have a victimhood mentality," and I'm like, "No, they don't. They're just pointing out facts." So if I can get that in my comment section, I'm sure she can get those things in hers. So I don't want to really like
Yeah.
muddy the waters when it comes down to that. But I see your wheels are turning 360. What are you thinking over
When it comes to women like Pearl, they were an inevitability
there?
because at some point, especially women of that particular ethnic community, they were going to be the first ones to have to acknowledge the failures of the feminism that they fostered. They're the ones who started it, and it's not been working for them.
Mm,
And it's not been working for them for decades. It's just that now we're getting to this place where supposedly there's unprecedented strength and equality and individualism and independence. And yet, what is the narrative that these women continue to say? That they're still lonely, that they're still unfulfilled, that they're still having all these problems that are attributed to them not being in a relationship and wondering why it is that they can't get into one.
mm,
Just about just a few years ago, there was a woman who made headlines yet again. The first time she made headlines was over 20 years ago. She was one of the first women in this country who agreed to have her eggs harvested and collected and saved so that she could be the career woman that she wanted to be, and then have a kid on her own terms at some later date.
okay.
Now that's when she originally made headlines. She made
Really?
headlines. She made headlines again just a few years ago. You might say it was an anniversary date, and she realized that she had become the great career woman that she always wanted to be, but she had to recognize that she could have been that anyway. Nothing was
Mm,
stopping her from being this career woman. She could very well have gotten married, had kids, and still been that same career woman all the same.
Hmm.
It She didn't make that much more. The amount of money she made more by not having kids and not having a family was relatively negligible by maybe another $2,000 or $3,000 per year. That's all.
Wow.
So she, over the years, she had various partners, male partners, and none of them made it to the fruition of an actual relationship. So she never got married. This is a woman in her mid to late 40s. She eventually decided to start using those eggs of hers, but surprise, surprise, the bank that she had her eggs stored at, they suffered a catastrophic calamity.
Wow.
Mm.
Most of her eggs were lost in the process. She only had roughly 8 left.
Mm.
8. So they took those 8, they fertilized those 8. Only 3 actually took the fertilization. Out of those 3, they implanted all 3 into her reproductive organ, and none of them kept. So now
Mm.
this woman is completely and totally barren. She's unmarried and unhappy as all get out.
Because she
Yep.
drunk the Kool-Aid.
She
Yep.
drank the Kool-Aid, yes, sir. And
Yep.
these stories are only going to they're only going to start snowballing
Yeah,
because
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 we're getting to that age now. We're getting to that point where it's over. You're getting to the point where you're going to have to accept it's over. It's
yes,
no
sir.
more. It's
This
done.
this is the fulfillment of Gen X. Gen
Mhm.
X is that group that's hitting their 40s, 50s, and early 60s. That's us.
Yeah.
And a lot of these stories are still in the process. And
Mm.
when it comes to women like Pearlie, who represent that next generation of millennials, they're the ones who are seeing this firsthand.
Mhm.
See, they're not going through all the mutations of the feminist movement like we did. We saw where at one point almost everything across the media was "you chauvinist pig." I mean, pick any episode of Saved by the Bell. Hearing Jesse Slater,
Really?
Jesse Spano call AC Slater a chauvinist pig. That was a staple of the show.
Yeah,
These
because he was
things
a
were
wrestling, but yeah.
these
Mhm.
things were hammered into our psyche that somehow what we would consider basic masculine behavior is somehow toxic male chauvinism, toxic masculinity. But then fast forward, look at who the women are choosing to be with. Men
Toxic
who
men.
exactly.
Yep, that's exactly the men that they're getting with, and it's amazing to see this. Like when you sit down, you really look into the type of men that are getting these women knocked up. They are considered toxic, right? They tend to be broke, tend to not have much going for themselves, but for some reason they get the ladies.
Or
You know
worse.
why, right? You know why, right?
Why is that?
Because of the simple fact that women basically want to date themselves, but also have the masculine energy. What do I mean by date themselves? Those
Okay.
guys that they're picking are very emotional.
Mhm.
They react based off emotions. That's the
Yes.
same way a woman react. Why do you think a woman when they have a masculine man, they're like, "Oh, you're so not into your feelings and you're so not this." And so it's like, I'm a man. I'm supposed to be calculated with my move, with the way I move. I'm supposed to be business savvy, the whole nine. I'm not supposed, like, don't get me wrong. Yes, men tap into their emotions, but the way a woman is saying, yo, to be emotional, this, that, and the third, that is not how men operate. But you hear women all the time say they want this in a man. And those type of dudes, they're the ones that do things based off of emotions, just like how a woman react, because a masculine man is very calculated. He's going to think about his actions before reacting. So in a nutshell, go ahead, what was you going to say?
I would
Okay,
actually
I was just about to say that.
I would actually splinter that off into 2 different groups of men. Because yes, I
Okay.
agree with you. The men that you're talking about, I
Hmm.
refer to them as son husbands. Because
Yeah.
those are the
Yeah.
men. who were primarily raised by their mothers, and as they were coming up, they were taking on their mother's thought processes. And that's that feminine energy that we pick up in them. That's why those men always seem to be so successful with women, because they have that skeleton key of being able to take these women on the emotional roller coaster. Those are the men in society that can cuss a woman out, praise her, make her sad and possibly cry, get her angry, and then tickle her all in the same 5 sentences.
Yeah. It's called the emotional roller coaster. Listen, I got a clip for you guys. All right. For those of you who are sensitive ears, bear with me. This is going to have a couple of some words in there that you may not enjoy, but believe me, it's worth watching. Ready for this clip? Let's go.
Mom, you went and go get a DNA
recording me.
Don't worry about that, Mom. Tell me, no, why did you go get a DNA test on Nana?
Who? What? What is you talking about?
You know what I'm talking about, Mom?
Calm down, first of all.
No.
Then I'll talk to you.
No.
Okay, I will talk to you, because I've been talking to you.
No. Tell me right now.
I did it. You know that ain't true. She don't even look like you. She don't look like me. She don't look like your
Mom.
grandmama.
Listen, Mom.
Nobody.
I told you to stay out of my business in the first place when you were talking about it.
Stay out of my business, Mom. How many of you? I told you to stay out of my bit. Let me ask you something, Smooth. I'm gonna ask the same thing to Matters. What's the best way to get your mama out of your business?
Put her knee deep in it.
No.
Oh yeah.
Move the hell out.
Yep.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Out.
Well, you know what? I was kind of taken for granted and still thinking in terms of the son being a child or a preteen as opposed to a grown man.
Yeah.
Like the one in the video.
Right? You're going to see in the clip, the man, let me play the clip.
Baby boy, and this ain't your baby. This ain't, no. Period.
Listen. I was happy with doing.
I'm not gonna take it back. I'm not gonna say sorry, because I want my own grandbaby. I'm your child.
I'm not asking.
That ain't your child.
I'm not asking you to say sorry.
Mama, you want me to accept this grandbaby? No. I'm not gonna do this. Get that camera out my face.
I love now.
Camera out my face.
Mom, why you throwing stuff?
Why you doing this? This is not even necessary. You know what?
This to prove that my mama won't stay out my business.
It's okay. It's okay, because guess what?
All you had to do is mind your business.
Guess what? I did this for us. Both of us. We cool now.
Wow.
This ain't your baby.
Did you hear those words?
Yes.
I ain't got Pampers. I ain't got no more pacifier.
So now you calling my baby.
Sorry,
so now you gonna call my baby
about kids, but they ain't your baby. So stop saying that. Don't play with me. You know what?
Mom, listen.
Give me some water. Give me some water or something. You're making my blood pressure go up. I don't understand this. I told you I did this for us. You my only son.
Us.
You my only son.
Ain't
You
no
think I'm
us.
supposed to have other babies out here that ain't ours?
First off, Mom.
Ain't ours. Do you hear the words that she's using? The sentence.
Let me ask y'all something though. If that is this woman's only child, you don't think a mother's gonna react that way though, and try and protect her child by any means necessary against a thought?
Okay, you know what? I agree. My wife Toy and I, we did a whole video behind this, and I'm gonna have that ready and rock and roll for you guys on Friday. Listen, I agree. I'm not gonna give my opinion because I already did that in my video.
Got you.
Well, to answer your question, brother, I say no. This woman, no.
And explain why. Why is that a no?
The reason why I say no is that the presumption is that this woman would take certain steps to protect her son from this particular situation, right? But yet you can kind of tell that that was not part of his upbringing. She did not teach him a doctrine of preservation. She didn't teach him this.
Mm.
If anything, she probably taught him some of the same reckless behaviors that she used, which is why, as a mother of a son that's presumably in his mid-20s, she looks so young. So my guess is she probably had him at 15 or 16.
Yeah.
Let me give some pushback. Let me give some pushback because I could go, with my mom, right?
Mhm.
My mom would instill a lot of principles and, a whole bunch of principles, do right, this, that, and the third. But when it came to me being out in the real world, so to speak, those
Mhm.
principles wasn't working. So I'm like, yo, man, I want some cheeks. Like,
Yo,
like,
I
I'm
had
keeping
the
it a buck.
same
I'm like, yo,
issue.
I want some cheeks, yo.
Same
So
issue.
this ain't working for me. So
Yep.
when, even though I had all these upbringings, if I would have got with a woman and had a baby or whatever, number one, if I was living under her roof, my mom would have been like, yo, you're marrying this chick. But if my mom would have then found out that the baby wasn't mine, because my mom would do something like that, like sneak to do a DNA test. Like she would I wouldn't be surprised if she did something like that. And then to find out it's not hers, and I'm her baby, the last of all her children,
Mm.
Mhm.
I could see her reacting, not as her delivery might be different, but as far as the shouting, yeah, I can see her like totally going in.
My
So that's why
mom.
I'm like, yeah, so that's why I'm like, could it come from a place of that being that protector? Now, looking at this woman, I know she's like she comes off ghetto as hell. Like it is what it
Yeah,
is. So
and
I'm
see,
gonna give you that. I'm gonna give you that.
brother,
Like she
that's
come
why
off ghetto.
in good
But
faith, I couldn't argue with your upbringing because you have
yeah,
your upbringing, and obviously this young man has a completely different upbringing.
yeah.
And this lady, she demonstrates that. And how we know that is when he first confronted her, even though she's the mother, she still felt compelled to lie.
Yep.
Mama, did
That's
you do
true.
this?
That's
Huh?
true.
What are you talking
That's
What you
true.
about?
talking about?
That's
Huh?
true.
What?
What?
Yeah.
Like, wait
That's
a minute.
true.
This
Now
is a
who?
grown woman
Yeah,
that
huh?
Yeah, yeah,
easily in her
yeah.
faults.
Mm-hmm.
Facts.
You can, and she still felt compelled to lie. But the reason why she felt so compelled to lie, she tells us, "I did this for us."
That us thing, that
She
line. Oh
she
boy.
sounded like
See? Yeah.
she sounded like an overprotective wife protecting her husband against her husband's side chick.
Mm.
Smooth. I gotta give that to you because
Yes.
my mom's, once she found out the kids wasn't mine, oh, she's coming to me.
Yep.
I don't gotta go find out. She's coming
Yep.
to me like, yo, Wally, come here.
We
Like,
got something
so
to talk about.
I gotta give you that. I agree with you 1000%. You broke it down smooth, brother. I agree
Let,
with you.
let's play the clip.
I love Nala like she mine.
Keep talking.
I love her like she mine.
All right, and
That's what I'm
I
telling
am
you.
the bad mother of the year. So what? That ain't
Yeah.
our baby.
'Cause
What
you
you think?
in
Boy, look, I'm always gonna be in your business. You 22. You think you gonna have Doug Goose up in my house?
Oh, my goodness.
No, that ain't our
This is what I
baby.
deal with.
I did it.
This is what I deal with.
I did it. So
I did
what?
it.
It's okay. What you want? You want some breakfast or something?
This is what I deal with.
'Cause
I don't
only
want no
cooking for
breakfast.
one.
I don't want no breakfast.
I ain't got no grandkids.
I wanna
Look
know
at me.
why-
Look at me. I ain't got no grandkids.
I want to know why
I
you
had
just
to make sure.
Listen, can I talk now? Can I talk?
Yeah,
Why
it's
you
okay,
couldn't
boy.
just let good enough be? Like why you even just had to get in my business?
Son, I love you.
No, you don't. Cause if you love
I
me,
love you.
you
and
respect
I don't
me.
have money for a grandbaby. Okay, so I got
There it is.
to make sure.
There it is. Did you hear what she said? There it is. I don't have no money for no grandkids. There it is.
Yeah.
I am not splurging on
Yeah.
this child that is not my grandbaby. That's
Yeah.
the look. You let a woman talk long enough, she's gonna tell you everything you need to know.
Facts.
Brother, my guess
She
is
said,
she
girl,
got pregnant
I'm
at
not trying
19.
to.
You think she got pregnant at 19?
I think she got pregnant at 19, had him at 20. You know,
Mm.
Yeah,
and that's kind of right on par for
she's
college.
40. She's 40 and he's 22.
Yeah.
I believe. Yeah.
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 I did that because that baby ain't got your nose. That baby ain't got my Chinese ass. That baby don't look
You
like
bought a
us.
box of pampers and some onesies, man, and now you do something.
But I babysit. And you know, I ain't got time for that. Look at me. Look at me. Boy, bad. Okay. I done missed 3 days.
So you messed my life up because you don't want to be a grandma.
2 days out of grown
So you telling the world that you messed my life up because you don't want to be a grandma?
Mess your life up. Now listen to the
Wow.
foolishness coming out of his mouth.
That's a simp.
She's preserving your life. Preserving. Listen, if my mother went down to the clinic, found out one of my sons was not mine, I would be hugging her and saying, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
But
Because
see,
you saved me from a whole lot of hurt.
But see, this is where the problem lies, because the way it looked like she raised him was put women on a pedestal. Women are always white, right? Women have no accountability. So regardless if the child is not his, which it comes off as he already knew that, he's still putting her on a pedestal, and she can't undo what she trained, what she raised.
She cannot undo it.
But also, if you notice, her argument about her not having the money to deal with a grandchild and not having the time to deal with a grandchild is only predicated upon the fact that it's not his. But if it was his, we probably hear a whole different tale. She'll probably magically find some money. She'll find some time. She wouldn't necessarily see it as babysitting. She'd be like, "Oh, give me my baby." And we see it all the time. Give me my baby.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with loving your grandchild, but I do see a lot wrong with being skated on, right? And she's not about to be skated on.
No,
that's clear.
Well, you see, I'm glad you said that, because what the real issue is, she sees herself reflected in that young lady.
Oh boy, you stealing my dang thunder, boy. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? We ain't even get to that part yet.
Hold that thought. Give me a second, ladies and gentlemen. Give me a second.
Go right ahead. All right, we're gonna play the clip.
I want to be a grandmama. Just give me about 3, 4, 7 more years, and don't give it. I don't want no grandbaby. So not over here. Not over here. Get out my face with that. My face with that camera.
You did what
get
you
out my face with that camera,
boy. You did what you want to do.
You get out.
You did what you want to do. I'm doing what I want to do.
Okay. I'm gonna make they break this month around with me.
I don't care nothing about that. I don't care nothing about that.
We ain't got no grandbabies. I can go out. I can probably help that baby out there. Yeah. We don't pay insurance.
Now, why you put my that's no.
Now he's angry about her putting his business out there, right? While he has a camera stuck in her face. Wait a minute, I'm not done. He then uploaded this.
Yes.
Tell me how backwards that is.
Wait, did you hear what he said, though? You did what you wanted to do. Now I'm doing what I want to do.
Yep.
Facts.
Yep.
Again,
all right.
Does that sound like the husband telling his wife, "You cheated on me, so now I'm gonna go cheat on you. You did what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna do what I want to do."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna hop off, but you guys can have a woman's perspective on this, as Erica P is gonna take the floor. So
bring it on, Erica.
So give a second so she can take over. All right.
It's gonna be good.
It was definitely good chopping it up with y'all.
Good seeing you again, brother.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be watching in the comment section till I fall asleep. So
all right, brother.
All right.
That means he ain't
Erica
going to
P
sleep.
will be up in a sec.
He's not going to sleep. That's not true. He ain't going to sleep. So while we wait for Eric P, I just wanted to say, listen to the beautiful sounds of Gary Lamb's voice as we wait for another guest. Let's continue.
Problem, you always put my business out there.
Yes, and everybody knows.
What is up, Erica
Hey,
P?
sister.
How are you doing, love? How is everything? You're muted.
Of course I am. I am doing good.
You know, you look way better with that background. Way better.
How about I got a background upstairs now too? I got my own background.
Oh, got the background now. Finally, that's what's up.
Yeah.
Meet 360 Smooth, Erica P.
Hello.
Hi.
How
All
are
right,
you?
So, do
I'm
you
doing
have
fine. How
anything
are
you
you?
want to say up until? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, we were just introducing ourselves.
Okay. You got anything you want to say up until this particular point before we continue with the video?
I was about to say the only thing that I'm getting off of her, she's younger. So you could
Mhm.
tell she was a younger mom who, in my head, tried to figure it out the best that she could. But I do feel like there may have been a lapse of a male figure in the son's life.
May.
And the reason
May.
I don't know this person, so I'm gonna say
Neither
May
do I,
because
but
I don't
we
want to
could.
presume.
I'm not assuming. I'm looking at the evidence.
But the reason that I'm gonna say that statement is because one, I don't care my child or not. You grown. There's certain ways that you talk to your mom. There's certain ways that you talk to your dad. If we're having a conversation, even if I did what I did, you ain't gonna come and talk to me sideways. First of all, I don't know why you're recording because if you was my child, you wouldn't have been recording. Second, I wouldn't have lied about I don't know what you're talking about because no, if I went and did it, there was a reason that I went and did it, and you probably knew why I did it. I done already told you, hey, I don't know if this kid look like you. It don't look like me. It don't look like grandma. So this is what we about to go do. I ain't got to sneak and hide about it because if you're my child, you're gonna come here with me. We're gonna do it together. Or we're gonna have a conversation. If you already knew it wasn't yours, then you should have had that conversation with me too. Because if you want to be grown enough raising somebody's kid, you need to know all of the all of the stuff that go with raising somebody else's kid.
That
So,
is
but go ahead.
absolutely a possibility, Key. And every time when I was watching this, my wife and I, we even made that conversation with that statement. What if this is a skit? Right? Because it's way too many points, it's way too many things that's happening. It could just very well be just that a skit. Right. I agree with you. But we're gonna call on like it's not.
I was about to say, but I'm okay with it being a skit because you know what? A lot of times with a skit, there's some truth to it. That meant somebody else then had some similar situation to this. So even if it is a skit, guess what? For the people that are in that circumstance, they'll understand by people having open dialogue about it for them to either one, get out of that situation, or two, try to figure out what's the next step and to progressively become a better person.
Right. So let's play the clip. Oh, what happened? Sorry.
You don't want to be a grandma? What you want to do?
You get out.
You did what you want to do. I'm doing what I want to do.
Okay. I'm gonna make a brick this month around with me.
I don't care
Get out
nothing
my
about that.
face.
I don't care nothing about that.
We ain't got no grandbabies. I can go out. I can probably help that baby out there. Yeah. He don't
Don't worry
pay the
about my
insurance.
Now, why you put that's your problem. You always put my business out there.
Yes, and everybody
That's
know.
the problem.
Your auntie Lisa said, girl, get that DNA test. Your auntie Patty said, you better.
But
Okay, don't play with me.
they wouldn't have never known if you ain't been telling them my business. That's your problem. You tell Patty, Aunt Patty, and all them my motherfucking business.
You're my only son.
You ain't gonna have no son when
What do you want for breakfast? Cause I cook it.
How do you unmama some?
That you don't cook. You want me to cook for babies. You, that baby mama. They don't pay no more either. Cause watch.
You
She
sad.
can't come over here.
You
I
sad.
bet you she can't come over
You
here.
sad, and I see why my dad ain't with you.
You know what?
You're sad, and I see why he ain't with you.
Look,
How about
see
that?
these
man?
knives over here too. You see, don't play with me.
I see why dad ain't with you.
Why your daddy ain't with me?
Yeah.
Your
I see.
daddy ain't, okay? Your daddy might not even be your daddy, okay?
You
He's
see what I'm
lucky to
saying?
be with me.
See what I'm saying?
Stop
why you ain't go get a DNA test?
You know what? Let me
But
go
you in
back.
my
Because, okay, so I'm the DNA swapper.
Whoa,
yes, call me Mrs. DNA. All right.
How you say he might not even be my daddy, but my dad?
Okay.
I ain't gonna say
Everybody, don't play with me. Tell me thank you later. So you might as well don't want to argue with you no more. I won't do none of that, son. For real, because I love you. I did this for us.
Mom, I'm not thankful or grateful for you being in my business. Okay?
I don't want to hear none of that. Because I'm always going to be in your business.
Listen.
I'm your mother.
Listen.
I'm your mama. I'm not going to be. No. I knew that girl was sneaky out here. You know her name float these streets.
Name, no.
Boy, you better not play with me. You better be out here behaving.
Confused.
No, I'm not confused. We have a good family. I raised a good child. Ain't no babies bad no.
I'm gonna be honest with you. You crazy, so how you raise a good child?
I'm crazy, but I'm a good crazy, okay? I got
now right there when he said that, that's when I really thought this is a skit. When he said that, because it was like, all right, that's entirely too many parts. Like, who would come out and say that out what context, right? But this is cut up so badly. I don't know what has been missing. It's very poorly cut up, so I can't really make that assessment. But yeah, I will argue that this might be a skit. But just like Erica said, this is something that does happen a lot. Many of us have bits and pieces of this story in our very own families. So I can't say that this stuff is way far gone where we can't talk about it. These type of things actually happen in the Black community. I'm sure it happens in the white community as well. I've worked with people who found out that their father wasn't their own. And these men are 35, 37 years old. Literally just finding out. When he told me what was going on, his father was thinking about leaving. And he told his dad, he's like, where you going to go? You're 60. Where you going? Where you going? And he didn't want to stay with the mother, obviously, because he felt betrayed. But you know what she said? She said, I got the best father to raise you. I did the right thing.
You got to think about that time, too. Think about it. If he's in his 30s, that meant she would have been maybe 19 to 20 before she had. I'm going to give it 19 to 30 before she had him. You said it in the 60s. That was also a time where it was not a let's go get a DNA test. Think about it. Them shows didn't start coming out until what, the mid 90s?
Yeah.
That's realistically when it started happening. So a lot of times, especially if you was married, guess what? It was yours. It didn't matter because on paper, that was your kid.
Yep.
Those were things people really didn't talk about. It's more open to have those conversations now because why? You have more and more people that are not waiting to get married before they had these kids. They smashing multiple people at the same times. They went through their sexual liberation at this point. So these are all factors that will lead to these kind of problems now.
Yes.
Remember before when I said that women like Pearlie were they were an inevitability? Well, it kind of goes the same way with this idea of sexual liberation. Actually, it was never liberation. It was actually enslavement. And it's only now that this generation is starting to learn that. Just think about it. This is the same generation people who are having kids out of wedlock, and then they're finding that having done so directly inhibited their ability to find productive, fruitful relationships with men.
Right.
So it's been a shackle on them.
That
You good
I
over
can
there?
agree with.
And
I agree
with
wholeheartedly
the video itself, I couldn't help but notice that it seems like it would get choppy in the places where it probably has some swear words.
Yeah.
And I recognize Farrah Gray there. I know he's kind of like you in the fact that he tries to keep his content relatively clean, so he may very well have chopped it up. And which is not to say that it still couldn't be a skit. It could still be a skit, But that would kind of explain for some of the choppiness too, though. Just trying to
Yeah,
keep
it
it
will.
clean.
Yeah,
But
that's a typical. But here's the thing: this is typical simp behavior.
oh yes,
Okay, this is because let's be real. We're talking about a man. Let's just for argument's sake say that this is an actual real life situation. Just for argument's sake. Here's a person who knows that the child ain't his, or at least believes or have an idea that the child is not his. His mother goes and take it upon herself to go behind his back,
mm-hmm.
swab the child, and go down to get a DNA test for the child to find out that this is not your child.
Mm-hmm.
He then confronts his mother, not the girlfriend, his mother, about doing this. And he's telling her to stay out of his business.
Mm-hmm.
All the while inviting us all into his business. She cooks for him. She cleans for him. She pays his bills. Simp, son, husband, all day long. There's far too many of those men around. Far
Yes.
too many. So when you have women that can get away with this kind of stuff, why would they change? Why?
There's no incentive for them to.
There's
No.
zero
Because
incentive.
mama's going to do it. Or they're going to fall into the same situation where they're going to find somebody like mommy to take over.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason that that's the situation is because guess what? Mom made sure it was only her raising that kid. Mom made sure that the only people that had the decision-making skills in that household was her. Because he already said, like, dad ran off. So you were right. Dad wasn't in the picture like that. Or even if he was in the picture in some capacity, he didn't have a leg to stand on. Because if
Now,
he did, that kid would have you would have had other personalities coming out. You would have had a drive to want to do something else. She going, this baby can't come to my house. That means you stay with the mother. There is no, I'm going to go visit you. You stay here. That means every time you bring this baby here, I'm not letting you in the door. Is basically what she's telling you. I'm about to cook you some food. You want this breakfast? Come on. Because obviously you go turn this camera off and you still gonna eat. Because realistically, if your mom is cooking for you and cleaning for you, may or may not have a job. You may or may not be able to financially support yourself if you decide to leave out of the house. Those are all factors that come to play because guess what? If you were a 20-something male who had a drive, was driven, was focused on getting out of mommy's house, it wouldn't have mattered what she was doing because you would have been getting up, going to a job. You would have been staying in an empty apartment with no furniture because the main focus would have been, I got to get out of mommy's house.
Yep. That's how my wife.
Go ahead. I think you was about to say something.
Well, I mean, as we've all agreed, this is pretty much a classic son-husband relationship. So he has no real reason to leave. As far as he's concerned, he's the man of the house. She's cooking. The mother is cooking for him, cleaning for him, and by her own admission, she was also cooking for the girlfriend too. She had been doing so, and this revelation is what makes her say she better not come back to my house. But up to this point, it was all fair game. Hell, she may have been of the volition to let them spend time there getting it on in that house. But see, that's one of those things we don't necessarily talk about as a community.
No, we don't talk about those things because that's none of your business. Get out of my damn business.
But think about it though. If you cooking and cleaning for them, if they're there, where do you think this is happening? And I think that's the other thing. When you start looking at these parent roles, if you're a parent friend instead of a parent, because I don't have a lack of a better word right now to say.
Mm-hmm.
You could tell she wanted to be the cool mom.
Mm-hmm.
If
Oh,
you
yeah.
want to be the cool mom, I guarantee they was coming to the house eating and drinking and smoking and partying and everything else. Guess what? I ain't partying with my child. I ain't partying with my mama because there's certain things you can't take back once it happens.
That's true.
That's just not something we'll be doing. Now, if it's a cookout, a little different. Dad's birthday party cookout, mom's birthday party, but guess what? It don't matter how old I get. I'm still not drinking in front of my mama because that was not the acceptable thing in my household.
Oh,
At
I
least on my
respect
end,
that.
I didn't do that. I just
Hmm.
didn't. You ain't teaching me how to make. I might make the drink for y'all, but I'm not drinking with y'all type of situation.
Hmm.
But you could tell there's no boundaries
Oh, no, there's
between
no
the
boundaries.
mama
I
or
mean,
the son at all.
correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't she refer to herself as the DNA swallower?
Or
Swallower.
swabber, DNA
Swapper.
swabber.
Or swabber, DNA swabber. I thought she said swallow. But one thing I did hear very correctly was when
Wait a
she.
minute. You can't just blow past that.
That's what I thought she said.
No.
That's what I
You
thought she
said
said.
DNA swallower.
That's what I thought she said. But
Oh,
if
she
nothing
said
else, she did
swabber,
tell that
bro.
boy that
Oh.
you don't know if your father is your father. And I was like,
Yeah, that
oh.
was crazy. That blew me back real quick. That blew me back. But I think she was just saying that for freaking try to hit him back. But yeah,
Yeah,
she
but you
did
know
do
what?
that.
Even if you trying to hurt, my thing is you the parent. I'm not trying to hurt you. My job is to protect you. That's
Mm-hmm.
certain things you just don't say. It might have been some truth to that
Right.
because you ain't gonna just throw jabs just because.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And let's keep it real. One thing our ladies love to take credit for is being queens of the clapback, of being able to hit below the belt.
That's true. That is true. Well, what do you feel about the whole situation with Fresh and Fit, Erica?
You know what? I felt like they just kept trying to one up themselves. So they
Mhm.
one up themselves the cancellation.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't have I'm not one of those people who I'm so invested, be like, oh my God, they're no longer doing this yet. I'm not that kind of person. Everybody has their own opinion. So I'm okay with however your opinion wants to be. But when you start not being truthful to certain situations, or you're just trying to one up the next situation, I have a problem with that. And there were too many stories populating going, hey, what was it? They had the situation with girl guests coming over and trying to pay to play type of stuff. I'm not okay with that. That's a culture that I don't support.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, it's like, hey, they had an audience. There were people, but there's always going to be somebody for that audience. There's always going to be males with rah-rah personalities that are always going to get followers because that message is not going to go anywhere.
No, it's not.
I just feel like if that's your message, be truthful to your message and don't be a clout chaser. Because I do feel like their message was one way and they were living a different type of lifestyle.
My biggest contention with Fresh and Fit was this one interview where I believe it was Fresh. He had just dragged for this one particular adult film star. And she came on the show and confronted him about the things that he said. And he cowered and backed down, as opposed to repeating the same things to her face that he had said, without her being there. And that was my big issue with him on that one. It's like, no, that was very unmanly and unbecoming. If you're gonna drag for this woman publicly anyway, then when she gets right there in your face, the least you can do is have the testicular fortitude to tell her the same things that you said with her right there in your.
I agree
Okay,
with you
so
on that one. I think he froze up, but I'm
yeah,
with him on that though.
me too.
You if you said what you said, you gotta stand behind it. I don't care if
Yes,
you're right or wrong. What you're saying, it was your opinion anyway. So if it
right,
was your opinion, why would you back down? I feel like you only
exactly.
back down because the person was in your face. I'm not that kind of person. I might ruffle some feathers sometimes. I might step on some toes. I might even put my foot in my own mouth because it happens. I'm
Yes.
human.
Mm-hmm.
But you can come in, we can have that open dialogue, we can have that conversation, and you could rebuttal what I said. Be like, hey, you were wrong, and you were wrong because of X, Y, and Z. And then if I decide later on, be like, you know what? You made some valid points. I'm gonna go ahead and change my idea. Because at that point, I'm not shying away from what I said, but you're making me look at it in a different light.
Right. Well, listen, I think that's the end of the live tonight. I sure hope you guys enjoyed yourself. Hopefully 360 come back so we can have an the back room offline conversation. But this is Gary Lamb. I sure hope you guys enjoyed yourself. Thank you for everybody that's in the chat that came. Thank you for everybody in Rumble that came. This is Gary Lamb signing off. You guys have a good one.